People of the world, welcome back to Send It Rising. My name's Kellen, but you already knew that. Second time on the show. Our guest today is absolutely incredible. Backstage, we're having a really interesting conversation about what works as an agency owner. Sometimes I feel like I should be doing email lists and I should be doing this and that and whatever. And I'm doing TikToks as this character. He's the president of the remote work revolution, sharing news and stuff. And it's actually starting to work, which is super cool. And Hannah just made me feel much better because she said, you know what? Once people trust you and they like you as an authority there, they're going to be way more interested in referring and working with you. And I think she's right about that. Ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a real treat because she knows everything that could possibly be needed to know about social media. Her name is Hannah Acosta. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Kellen. It's great to be back. I'm excited.
Oh, all right. So where were we? We were talking about how marketing for an agency is really challenging because the things that work for our clients don't necessarily work for us.
Yeah.
And so what do we do? What's the best strategy for it? Do we just make educational content on YouTube that gets 4 views? Is this the strategy?
Gosh, it's so hard. I loved what you were telling me backstage about you saw something on Reels and it was like, if you use this sound, you'll make X amount of dollars or you'll reach X amount of people. And I think there's a little bit of truth in that. You know, Instagram tells us in the bottom left-hand corner, you see a little squiggle arrow going upward. That means that sound or song is now trending. So if you use that, maybe it will work and it will help you get a bunch of views. But to my point earlier, once we start putting our faces out there and start becoming a figure where someone can lean on for information, they naturally just start to trust us, right? It kind of moves them along this natural progression that we talk about with our clients a lot, is we want to take them from stranger to friend to customer to evangelist, right? Someone who's going to rant and rave about us. And so I feel like right now with your TikToks that you're creating, you're taking someone from stranger to friend, and they might stay in the friend zone for a little bit before they realize that they need to purchase something from you or could benefit from your services or need your expertise in a way that it would be a transaction. But right now, like, let them live in the friend zone. I think that's a great space for us to live as agency owners or people who work in marketing as a marketing agency in some capacity. There's a lot of benefit in becoming that person that they're like, you know what? Actually, I think I did see an update about this new thing coming to Facebook or this new thing coming to Instagram. And I think Kellen was talking about that. And then they're going to share that with their friends. And you just kind of naturally evolve this following, right? All these thousands of people who are viewing your content and leaning on you for that information.
Yes, I think, and I love, and you're making me feel better. The where I get stuck is I'm delivering social media news, right? So it's not necessarily, hey, here's this new update with Facebook. It's more like, Facebook stock tanked. So it's, as I say, it's marketing adjacent. And so
Yeah.
my fear, because what I've noticed is when I mention things about like Google getting sued, for example, comments just light up. I mean, people they are arguing with one another. Like there's threads of like 30 people going back and forth. So there are incendiary topics that have nothing to do with marketing that are working. And
Yeah.
so I'm sort of like, okay, is it close enough where if I start making posts in the future that are more marketing centric, which I'm trying to start thinking more about how that could work, how to take them from a friend who sees me as like a news person to a friend who sees me as a digital marketing owner, who they're like, oh yeah, my Uncle Bob needs a website. Maybe we could actually get a quote from Send It Rising.
Yeah, totally. I think that connection really, like you said, it's marketing adjacent. If they're still interested in Google in some capacity, you kind of have to think about, well, why? Why did this pique their interest, or why do they care about Facebook? Stock tanking. It's not like you're talking about, I don't know, GE stock. You're still talking about things that are relevant, companies that are relevant to marketing, whether that's like Google AdWords or literally running a Facebook and Instagram campaign. So there is some connection there that I feel like you could easily transition into uh, mixing the marketing world and the stock world together.
Yeah, you make a good point. Like Facebook ads recently, I read an article about how they added call optimization as an option.
Yeah.
And so that would be a good TikTok. I should probably do that one today where it's like, hey, people of the world, I don't know if you knew this, but you can optimize for phone calls and da, 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 da. What's fun about it, about doing these TikToks is so barefoot because it's just, I don't know. And I inevitably get a comment from a mom who's concerned about me. There's
Yeah.
always like a concerned
She's like,
mom
why are you
comment.
barefoot?
Dude, where's your helmet? There's inevitably that. And then what's the deal? Oh, I have to memorize it. Okay. So whatever the information is, so
Mm.
that's a whole thing. So it's like you read the article, you read it again, you practice, you read it again. So some effort goes into it. And then you have to avoid getting killed by a car, right? So there's that. Um, and then you have, because I'm longboarding and delivering the news at the same time, it immediately becomes an explain like I'm five because I don't have the mental bandwidth to like get into nuance or anything. So I'm just like, here's what happened. There's this new thing. You should check it out. You know what I mean? And so it's just funny. It doesn't, I want to say it dumbs it down, but it really simplifies it. You know what I mean? Because you can't overthink.
Well, totally. And I think that that's great too. I've been reading a book called, or we just wrapped up an internal book club with our team. We were
Mm,
reading Russell Brunson's Expert Secrets.
okay.
And in part of the book, he talks about how we have to speak at a third grade level
Yep.
because people do not resonate. They just don't receive the message in the same way if we're speaking above a third grade level. And his example that he uses in the book is the presidential debates with Donald Trump versus everyone in the primary races where they're doing these debates of who the candidate's going to be for the Republican Party. And he's like, such and such candidate spoke at an eighth grade level. Someone spoke at a sixth grade level, but you know who spoke at a third grade level? Donald Trump did. And then he's like, I'm not at all saying that that's why he won, but people could really connect with the message because he spoke at a third grade level. Now, why he spoke at a third grade level is that's up for debate. But I
Sure.
just thought that that concept was very interesting because I especially think as a marketing expert, for you, someone who owns an agency, you have such a plethora of knowledge. And sometimes we get stuck in the nitty gritty of things instead of just dumbing it down and saying, yo, you can target people who visit your website instead of making it more complex. Like, oh, if you have a pixel and then the pixel collects this data and
Oh,
information
you
and
know
IP addresses,
what?
and then you can create, it's like you can target people who visit your website. Let
Yeah.
me show you how to do
Yeah.
it.
Right. That's, you know what? I'm loving this conversation top to bottom. It's so interesting because absolutely. So I could do a TikTok on, hey, look, there's a way to optimize for calls. So when you create a Facebook ad, you can use their artificial intelligence to, I don't know, maximize phone calls. Do I know how it works? No. Do the people at Facebook
No.
know how it works? No, not really. There's probably one dude named like Bill who's in some, you know what I mean? He knows how it works, but no one else has a clue. But let's
Yeah.
trust that they know what they're doing, you know?
Mhm.
So there's that. And then in regards to dumbing it down, third grade level, yeah. So one of the moments I remember from the debates was when Trump turned to Jeb Bush and he's like, "You're low energy, Jeb. You're low energy." Like he's picking on him as if it's like
Like a
like
third grader
third
would.
grade. I feel like I'm in a recess. It's recess. It's third grade, and that is just low energy, Jeb. So and then of course Jeb's just like, how is this happening? Like how and the other thing too that is so interesting is as long as they're talking about you, they're advertising for you. So I covered this, and I like to talk about politics in the through the lens of advertising, which is to say that love him or hate him, Trump leveraged the media because they could not continue to be on the air unless they talked about him. You were not allowed
Mhm.
to be a political person in during those during all those years unless you talked about him because your ratings would plummet. And if you made a
Mhm.
philosophical stand for whatever reason to not talk about him, then you would have a monetary, like there was an issue, a financial issue. And so he just
Yeah.
made everything about him, right? And it was
Mhm.
unavoidable. And so everyone talked about him because their numbers were so great. And so like that's part of this TikTok thing. It's like, yes, I'm barefoot, and yes, I know it makes some people uncomfortable, but talk about it in comments, please.
Exactly. Tag your friends. Get in an argument with someone.
Oh, please, please get into an argument in my comment section. Like just all the notifications coming through. I'm like, yes, yes.
Like.
Seriously, or hate it, or leave, or you know what? That's just it. Like I'm finally over the trolley comments, because for the longest time, all I ever got were trolley comments, and now I'm getting legitimate comments alongside trolley comments. And when those two worlds finally emerge, what happens is they become arguments. So the trolley comment
Mm,
annoys someone else, not just me, and then they get into a debate. And so now I'm really grateful for these people that can't keep their mouth shut.
right? Who would have ever thought?
I'm like, your work, like, I mean, there's a verb that I like to use called being Zuckerberged. And being Zuckerberged refers to when you give your time and energy to a website that you do not own for the profit of that website or the creator. So Facebook, every political rant that anyone ever did is like, do you understand that your time on a platform is incredibly valuable? Like, if you go pay a writer for a blog and get back to me, that it's expensive, content's expensive. If you're volunteering content, so I'm working for TikTok, but those comment people are working for me too, and TikTok simultaneously.
Yeah. I mean, Facebook's entire goal is to get you to spend more time on the platform. So if you are going to go off on some politically charged rant or something, heck, you could even be talking about a product, why a product is so amazing, or someone just wants to argue with you, oh, you shouldn't eat there, or you shouldn't buy clothes from this company. I mean, everything is so, sometimes that's like the scary thing about social media though too, and I think that's why so many people, I feel like I've been hearing a lot of people lately saying, oh, I'm off Facebook, it's so negative, right? Because people are just popping off and saying whatever they want to say, which they have the right to express their opinion. I wholeheartedly believe in that. But at the same time, it's like, when does this become a space that isn't so negative? Or how do we help it become a space that isn't so negative and a place where people can share their thoughts and opinions and like I just love seeing family members or
Yeah. Oh,
people I went to high school with and I'm like, do you really think you're gonna change their mind by
no.
getting in an argument with them in the comment section? Probably not. But I mean, if
My
that's how you wanna spend your
Look,
time, go for it.
my wall is proof that the Facebook algorithm will not send you political content unless you engage with it. I see none. I zero, nothing. I mean, it
Yeah.
never happens. I mean, I see my friends, I see whatever, and I am never on Facebook. I've never been a big Facebook guy. I don't use it to keep up with people. I don't use it as that whatever. Um, I'm reminded though of someone who's like, you know what? We're interested to see if the algorithms, this one was YouTube in specific, will give political content to people that say only search for dogs, right? And what they found is
Mm,
that it does not. They will serve you only dogs. So the reality is people aren't being they're not being they're lying to themselves about how often they click and engage with political content, right? They're
yeah.
going, you know what, I'm not that political, but then they see that clickbait that's going to make them furious or make them whatever, go, yeah, I'm right and you're wrong, and they click on it, and then they have their little moment, of indignation or self-righteousness, and then they move on to the cute puppy videos again, right? And so your feed is going to get filled up with, whatever it is that you're attracted to.
Yeah. Or whatever. I'm still convinced there's like some sort of speaker listening to me, the microphone. Cause like, you'll be talking about something and then all of a sudden you're scrolling and you get an ad for it. And I'm like,
I don't, you know
they're
what? If that's
listening.
true, I wouldn't
They're
put it past
listening.
them. I wouldn't put it past them. That does remind me of something I talked about recently, which was Apple cost Facebook $10 billion. Fascinating, because they added a pop up to their products where when folks used Facebook, they were asked whether or not they wanted to share the data. Just a
Yes.
pop up. That's it. Do you want to share data with Facebook? Yay or nay? 62% of people said, no, I do not. And that cost them $10 billion in revenue. I mean, just because they can't target as well. There's just a bunch of reasons why, but fascinating. So there is, let's not forget that there are these like megalithic wars between like the hardware people and the website people.
Yeah. And that's even true now as Apple's latest iOS 15 dot whatever just dropped. My phone updated it and updated to it. And when I went to go open my email for the first time, it asked me a very similar question, asking if I wanted to allow these marketing companies to be able to see my IP address so that they can track open rates or they can see who's clicking and making purchases. And that is going to have another impact on in the entire marketing industry as people maybe opt out of that or say, I don't want to share my data information, my IP address, whatever it may be, however the heck it works. I don't want to share that anymore. And I don't want to be blown up with 1,700 emails after I look at a house on Redfin
Right.
or whatever it may
Right.
be.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. Yeah, so there's definitely a pushback. And years ago, I called all this. I said people are going to be elected based on their stance on social media. Like it's going to be a huge
Mm,
political tool for people to get fired up because on the left and on the right, they both have their stances, and then you have these multinational companies that in a lot of ways are more powerful than individual governments because they're global, right? They have global
yeah,
reach. And then what's so wild is precedents are getting set in different countries, and then different countries are taking notice. So same company, it's just Facebook, right? But Australia sues Facebook because they want their journalists to get paid, and the rest of the world goes, oh, okay, well maybe we can win this fight because local governments they don't want to use all their legal resources to fight Facebook in a losing battle. But if there's a global precedent in another country, then they can go, okay, well maybe this is going to work. And recently in the EU, France and German ministers both said, Facebook, you can just go away because they were threatening to leave if they weren't allowed to move data from the United States to Europe. That's what Facebook said. And
mm.
the ministers were like, well, then go. So I think Facebook is bluffing. So
See ya.
big power moves, So I don't know. At the end of the day, I think that, having love in your heart and trying to love reality as it is, love what you do, love the people around you, work on patience. Those things are going to be true across, whatever technology comes, whether we're completely inside of a virtual environment. They just Horizon Worlds, Horizon Worlds. So it's
Mm.
it's Horizon Worlds is Facebook's VR sort of. It's going to be amazing. They spent all this money on it. They did whatever.
Yes, yes.
So all the avatars are legless, and honestly, I've never used it, so I can't be too judgmental, but all the pictures I've seen of it look just like it looks like, Pong
It
on a
sounds
card. It looks terrible. It looks absolutely terrible. And,
it sounds like a Wii character.
it's so bad. It's so bad. It's like, where are the legs? They have no legs. But what they had to do in Horizon World, and this is so wild to me, and here's my question, my super long-winded question, is they literally put a barrier around the avatars in the VR space because people's space was being violated. Right. So people were doing really, how people are, especially when they're anonymous and they were doing like rude and like inappropriate things to the avatar of people inside of their bubble of space in the virtual reality. And so they instituted like you can't get that close anymore. But they literally put a safe space around these avatars in a virtual environment. Thoughts on that?
I have no words. I I really like struggle personally with this virtual reality. It doesn't I think it could be really dangerous for people. Like they
Mm,
just put these goggles on or they just sit in front of a screen and suddenly they think that that's their actual world and
mm.
life is just completely passing them by. That seems really, really unhealthy to me. I mean, I just don't. I don't really know if I can get down with virtual reality. I think it can be fun from a gaming perspective, but if people are yeah, if people are really truly feeling like that is their life and that is how they are choosing to spend the majority of their time, ugh, that
I just
feels
I can't help
that
but
feels so concerning to me. But
can't
then
help
on the
but
other hand,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, no, I'm just saying, but then on the other hand, I think I saw a church recently, and they are now streaming. It's like some mega church in Texas, and they are now like streaming their church live in a virtual reality setting. And they're like, well, if we have the opportunity to like connect with people who don't know Jesus, like, why would we not stream in a virtual reality? And I'm like, okay, well, I think that sounds good. Does it? I don't know. This hasn't even been around long enough for people to form an opinion about it, for us to know the really true. I mean, we know the impacts of people spending more time on social media. I mean, hello, I think last time I was on, we talked a lot about the social dilemma. I'm like, okay, now is there going to be the virtual reality dilemma coming soon to Netflix, like catch it in summer 2023? I mean, I feel like that's kind of where we're heading, right? And it's
Yeah.
hard for us as humans, our brains can't even keep up with all of the new technology and understand the impact that it's having on the development of our brain
Yeah.
even.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So I can't help but recall the criticism I used to get with spending 8 hours in front of a screen. When I was younger, they were always like, there was just like, you're just playing video games all the time. You're constantly in front of a screen. It can't be good for you. Blah, 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 blah. And now it's literally what I do for a living. Right? I wake up every single day. Society is rewarding me for all of those hours I spent pointing and clicking, right? Playing Diablo 2
Yeah,
with my friends, typing, learning the hotkeys. It was all training. And nobody saw it as training back then because it was just, oh, you're just wasting your time with video games. And now you got these multi-million dollar gamers who are celebrities. And so that's always my
yeah,
take on technology as it evolves, which is the older generation, which is us, is it
yeah.
right? Looks at the new stuff and goes, "Oh, like, oh, it's gonna be," and it is going to be a nightmare, but they're gonna move through that nightmare, right? And they're gonna
Yeah,
walk through it having earned experience that the later generations will never understand. We're
yeah,
not gonna know what it's like. Like my son, before he could talk, could navigate a tablet. Like couldn't express himself, but he could find the YouTube video he wanted to watch. He could move on to the next one. Like he literally learned this before anything came out of his mouth. And
yeah.
the amount of language acquisition he's getting from YouTube is absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, just he
Mhm.
gets to watch whatever he wants. He has total freedom to like move and all these to have all of these adults basically teach him English in the way that he wants to learn it. And he's doing it through YouTube, right? And that's the way I
Yeah,
perceive it as someone with a master's degree in education, having taught many years. It's like YouTube gets a bad rap, man. Like if they're watching
mhm.
engaging content where they're getting the English language fed to them, I'm like, let's go. Like, no, it does not need to be like, and he does watch science stuff and he watches all sorts of stuff, but people forget how hard it is just to pick up a language, right? And so
Yeah,
I love that for little kids. You know, yes, they need to go outside. Yes, they need to exercise. Yes, they need to interact with other kids. But there's a lot of positives in just having access to YouTube, ad free, by the way. Parents out there, invest in that ad free because they're going to get inundated
yeah.
with ads anyway. The YouTube videos are advertisements, they're all advertisements for something.
No. I know it really is such a great resource. I mean, for kids, but for adults too. I mean, I the college that I went to, I was a student ambassador, so I would give tours to prospective students, at recruits. That was my job, right? So I remember this guy came to our campus. He was being recruited to join the baseball team, decided not to play baseball, but still decided to come to the school anyway. He spends a semester, and at semester, he says, I'm not coming back in the spring. And I'm like, why? And he goes, because I can learn everything that I need to do on YouTube. And now this guy literally owns his own digital agency, and he went to the same school that I went to after the same degree. But I stayed for 4 years and left with X amount of dollars of student loan debt, and he left with probably none. And is doing essentially the same job that I am. I think education, because of the existence of YouTube and other learning platforms like Udemy and things of that nature, college,
I know it's becoming
I'm
more and
not
more
saying it's not
irrelevant.
valuable. I'm the product of my mom. My mother is a teacher. She would probably kill me if she
Oh,
heard me
yeah.
say that. But at the same time, I don't know. There's so much information out there, and if you're willing and curious enough to go and explore that and invest in the time that it takes to learn and teach and explore, I don't know.
I
Maybe
know.
you didn't need, maybe I didn't need to go to college or run
Dude.
Facebook
Well,
ads or
look,
YouTube ads
everything
or
is
whatever.
yeah, everything is perfect the way it is. We're involved in the perfect unfolding of the karma of the universe, and everything's perfect, okay? That being said, Yes, we're going to see this incredible shift away from expensive college because it's the value isn't going to be there like it was. Now,
Yeah.
social media is a lot different than a doctorate in, I'm sorry, like what am I trying to say? A brain surgeon, right? So,
Yes.
like, engineer, brain surgeon, like there are certain paths that you simply can't do it. But I also see a lot of stuff about the trades. People are like, there's this woman on TikTok who says, I have a master's degree. I have $130,000 of student loan debt. I work a lot, and my husband makes 3 times as much, and he's a tradesman. 3 times as much. He did 1 year of schooling, and when he works overtime, it's staggering how much money he makes.
Yeah, we have two of my husband's very best friends. They're both electricians,
Yeah.
and they make, I feel like, crazy amounts of money compared to what I was making after I spent 4 years in a traditional college environment, got my job. I mean, what I was making then, he was already, further along into his career even, too. So, oh, I see someone left a comment here. Really doubt university, we know it will be useful for my kids, 4 and 6 years old. Yeah,
Yeah,
crazy.
we'll see. I mean, yeah, so it's going to be very, very different. And then, of course, there's this incredible pressure that I felt walking out into the world with student loan debt. I mean, it just colors everything. It's almost like our society is saying, "Oh, you're smart, prove it," right? It's like we're going to saddle you with all this debt. You better grind, right? You better, right? Because if you don't, the society is going to eat you up, right?
And
So,
and I think it's crazy as an 17, 18-year old, you're making a decision to enter into thousands of dollars of debt and you have no concept of money. None, right?
none.
I mean, the what I thought I knew about money and working at Old Navy and putting away half of my paycheck into my savings account, that was very minimal. As from the ages of 15 to 18 years old, that I learned from the point I graduated college until now. And I'm so grateful for the conversation that I had with my parents. My parents said, you can go literally anywhere you want to go, but it is going to cost you something when you leave there. And
Mm.
so I was supposed to go to DePaul University, downtown Chicago. And, I'm like, oh, but I'll save money because I'll be an RA and then I won't have to pay for room and board and I'll do that for 3 years. I would have even after being an RA, I would have graduated with $100,000 of student loan debt. What? What? That's literally insane. And I wanted to be a teacher. Like I
Yeah.
wanted to be a teacher. And I'm like, how my dad was like, you can do whatever you want to do. You can go to whatever school you're probably going to get in and it's going to be great. But when you leave school and you get a job, hopefully, right?
Right.
Then I don't want to live in my basement and be having to pay off all of this debt, right? Or you could go to this other school where you're getting more scholarship money, and when you leave here, you're going to have, maybe $20,000 of student loan debt.
Right.
And I'm just like, okay. And so I went that route, and hand of the Lord, I'm so grateful for that because
Dude.
it would have been a long, hard journey.
Amen. So ladies and gentlemen, send it rising. Good times. YouTube.com/send it rising. Check us out on TikTok/send it rising. TikTok.com, I want to say. We're branded the same way across everything now. That's good. If you are not impressed by Hannah Acosta, then you and I need to have a conversation about what makes you impressed because I disagree with you. Hannah, killing the game. Very excited to have you back on the show. Thank you. I always love having return guests. Why don't you tell the fine folks about Ugly Mug Marketing real quick and where they can reach you if they want to chat with you?
Yeah, so I am the director of social media for Ugly Mug Marketing. We are a full-scale marketing agency. We can help you with traditional marketing, television ads, radio stuff, or social media, get you caught up to speed with the digital age, whether that's SEO stuff, Facebook, Instagram ads, LinkedIn, YouTube, all of that great stuff. But then we also build custom websites. So that's a really fun department. sometimes I'm like, I want to join the website department because I love the design aspect of things, but I'll stick to what I know in the social media side of things. So if you want to connect with us, learn more about Ugly Mug Marketing, you can visit us at uglymugmarketing.com or find us Ugly Mug Marketing across all platforms. Definitely check us out on Instagram though. We're having lots of fun using Instagram Reels, so you can find and connect with us there.
There you go. Ugly, like the opposite of beautiful. Mug, like the thing you drink from. Marketing.com. Link is in the description. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for swinging by the show today. We'll see y'all next time. Bye for now.